Travis and I are in Mayfield, Kentucky. This was one of the ground zero sites for the devastating tornadoes that hit our state just a couple of days ago. I'm here with Pastor Robert Davis of the Mayfield Church of God, and I'll introduce these guys here in just a minute. Brother Davis, why don't you just tell us a little bit about what happened here, about the impact on the neighborhood, the church, etc.
Well, it's really a devastating thing to look at. It's like this is basically a war zone. Just kind of blew up. Come in the middle of the night when a lot of people weren't expecting it. Didn't really do a serious amount of damage to the church. He spared that, thank the Lord. Maybe the steeple and a couple other things. But in the neighborhood behind us, they took off roofs and tore houses completely up. Some people were killed as a result of it. We find in this whole neighborhood, it's a kind of a poor part of town, I guess you would say. And we are trying to reach out in town, see what we can do. So a lot of people want to come in and help. As you can see, probably even behind us, the destruction everywhere you look. It's just a lot of despair. But I'm convinced God's going to help us to turn this thing around and use it for His glory.
Well, we're very glad that you and the church are here to minister to this community. Everybody's heard about the candle factory, which is right back here in the background. The tornado came through this neighborhood, sort of leaped over the church, and landed on that candle factory back there. There's been significant loss of life here in this area. They're still searching for victims. Also with me here today is Pastor Michael Knight from the Madisonville Covenant Community Church of God. And Michael's got a great heart for all of Western Kentucky. And a lot of the relief efforts that are being done are going to be staged out of his church and under his leadership. And we've got another guest here, Warren. I'm going to let Michael introduce him and how he's going to be involved. But Michael, just kind of tell us about the relief efforts that are going to be staged out of your church and in 4 additional sites around Western Kentucky.
The beautiful thing about that is that we had already started a cooperative fellowship of Church of Gods in Western Kentucky. So we have what's called the Western Kentucky Dream Center. So through that cooperative fellowship of Church of God pastors just like yourself, in Western Kentucky, we are now able to, one, have a command center in Madisonville because of the size, the parking lot, along with another warehouse, forklifts, and receiving centers for all these goods that are categorized, and then we put into an Excel spreadsheet so we know how many waters we got, cases and pallets. And then from there, we send it out to different locations. We have a location here at Mayfield, where we will start our distribution center tomorrow with these pastors. And then we will have one in Dawson Springs. And then we will have one possibly in Central City for sleeping electrical workers and different issues. And then one in Bowling Green. So we have one command center where all the intake is taking place, where the goods are being categorized, where the income is working through intake forms to help people financially in many, many ways. And the way we're doing this, because we're not experts in this, so we went and got the experts. And Warren Beamer from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, which is the on-ground representative for the United Cajun Navy, along with, and they were on Fox News Saturday morning, it's a worldwide relief organization, as is Operation Compassion, and Men and Women of Action. So we're partnering with 3 different distinct organizations under the leadership of the United Cajun Nation with Warren Beamer.
And Warren, just share a little bit about your organization and how you're going to help here.
Well, United Cajun Navy it really started with a bunch of really good men from Louisiana that knew how to handle storms and walk in storms and start to bring a relief to areas. And then God's blessed it with great relationships with Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, all the different food organizations. And so they give us a good amount of relief to spread around to areas. I believe the other day we're waiting on the final of it, but Lowe's is committing 20 to 30,000 $100 gift certificates to our organization to be able to pass out. And we're doing that all exclusively through the Church of God and working with Pastor Knight through Madisonville. So everything that we've got coming is coming into these areas and going exclusive with y'all. It's kind of neat that as I was raised a Church of God boy down in Louisiana, and then God put me into a place of involvement with such great resources that then God would bring all this need back together. So we know that God is doing something amazing to take the wealth of a lot of other places to bring as a resource for God's people to use to activate people in the kingdom of God and to reach and touch the communities around it. It is no accident what we have and the relationships that we've had and all that God's put together so that God can do this right now. He knew all this was coming, and He formed all these things so we can start to work together. We have 18-wheelers starting to show up tonight, and they will show up regular for the next several weeks. As we've discussed with Pastor Knight, putting it together, the 5 locations and the hundreds of volunteers that are coming out of their church and all the other organizations signing up with them, we'll be able to put at all these places. So many times we go into places and we have no volunteers. It's amazing that right here, through what the Church of God is doing, we already have a network we can lean on, that we bring things in, and we're going to see the glory of God happen in this place. And all the resources from other places will all of a sudden be spread where it wasn't expected.
Well, Pastor Knight and Warren, I just want to thank you on behalf of the churches of God in Western Kentucky in particular that have been impacted, and the communities and the families, for the difference your leadership is making and will make over the next few days, weeks, and even months as we minister to the people all around our local churches. We get very wrapped up in what happens inside the house, but the real ministry of the kingdom is what happens outside the house. And the neighborhoods around our local churches, like this one, have been devastated. And people's lives have been upended at a time of year when people are looking forward to being together and celebrating family at Christmas. This could not have happened at a worse time, but we're going to make sure that we give our best effort possible to minister in tangible ways to people that are hurting all across Western Kentucky. And these men here are going to help facilitate that. If you would like to give to help us facilitate all these various ministry efforts across Western Kentucky, you can go to the Kentucky Church of God website, kycog.net. There is a dedicated giving portal there for the tornado disaster relief. I promise you that 100% of what you give will be funneled directly over to Western Kentucky, to these various relief sites, to actually touch people's lives and help them so that we can be Jesus with skin on during this very challenging time. We appreciate all of your prayers, all of the phone calls, the text messages, the emails, the money that's already coming in. And we so very, very much appreciate pastors like you, Brother Davis, and Pastor Knight for your leadership, and Warren for your partnership in helping us make a difference. God bless you, and thank you for your prayers once again, and thank you for your giving.